welcome to episode 3 of Future Library. Almost called it the wrong thing there. Back again for another week. My guests today are Jimi Gherkin and Adam Smith, and hopefully later on Mark Hibbert of MJ Hibbert and the Validators fame. Rather than go into some rather smooth intro, sort of where I pretend to know lots and lots of things about my guests because I've just Googled them or something, I think it's actually a bit nicer to let them introduce themselves. So, as Jimi is on a phone that might die at any moment, I'll let you go first, Jimi. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, hello.
Hi.
I do make my own comic books. I've been doing them since 2008, but and when I started doing them, I found out about the small press scene, and it's an amazing scene, so I wanted to be involved in it, so I started organising events. I did a small one above a pub first, a pub called The Plough, next to the Cartoon Museum, which was a pretty good place to do one. We had 13 artists. It was a really tiny thing, but the next year, a couple of guys, one guy in particular, Peter Lally, helped me out, and we started calling it Alternative Press. And now we do an international festival where we book the Conway Hall for 2 days. We do a bunch of exhibitions and stuff, and we're just trying to kind of promote the scene. Do you know what I mean? Promote self-publishing and get people who are doing their work, help them to get their work out there, and kind of spread awareness about the work and getting people outside the scene to come in and be involved in it, because that's the point of it. It's kind of a participatory scene. It's not like there's an audience and then there's a bunch of these guys doing stuff, but it's like everyone communicating with each other and everyone can take part. That's why it's such a great thing to be a part of, because anyone could do it. So yeah, that's me. I've also do a bit of music in there, like we were just saying, and I don't know, a bunch of other stuff, but. Depending on what mood I'm in,
For regular listeners to the podcast, if there are any regular listeners yet, we had on a couple of weeks ago Andrew Lips, and I met Jimi first at the same event as I met Andrew Lips. Andrew Lips, if you remember, was the chap who he wrote the song that included the chorus, "We don't fuck, we make love," which he then sang in a tent in front of a load of families eating lunch in Oxford at lunchtime, and caused a bit of a fight, almost. He upset somebody a little tiny bit. But if you want to hear all about that story, go back to listen to episode 1 of the podcast, because Andrew tells the story and we go through it and embarrass him fully there. So that's where I know Jimi from. Adam, I've known for a very long time through the Scottish music scene. Adam, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I guess I do the two things, music amateurishly and comics, even more amateurishly possibly, if that's possible. I've been doing that, both of them for a while, guess I've been involved in various bands for both in about 10 years, the Plimptons and the Hector Collectors. And been doing all started ever since it started about 1999. That's when the Plimptons were founded. And it's also when I founded Khaki Shorts, which is the small press anthology, Scottish anthology, mainly Scottish. Ended up some Americans in it, but that ran for about 20 issues between 1999 and last year, 2011, when I stopped doing it because it was I didn't want to do it indefinitely. But so I was keeping these two things ticking over, and the Plimptons are still going, and the Hector Collectors, which was a sort of another band I did. It's I can't describe these bands like the Plimptons more sort of I don't know.
Well, you had a song called "Nobody Likes a Comedy Rock Band," didn't you?
Yeah, well, that was one of the songs. Yeah, it's not the career definer.
It's not the.
No, I did some. We got pretty good after a while. Much more professional and better than the Hectors, and we're quite a full. I hate to say rock band because you get the wrong idea, but we're playing some one festival in Doon this year, which is, I guess, an achievement. We're also playing London this year for the second time. We're playing Guided Missile Club on. It's just turning a big advert now, isn't it? But
that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, Guided Missile Club on the 8th of September. Nice. Saturday, 8th of September. That's the second gig in London ever after a 13-year career. So but I played London 3 times, because the first time I played was, this would tie in if Mark was here, but the first time I played was 8 years ago in 2004 solo with Mark and a few other people, including someone called DJ Plant Pop Spin Master or something like that. I don't know. It was some sort of dwarf who was saying self-deprecating stuff to sort of hit beatboxing and stuff like that. So that's not a biography. That's just a bunch of information stuck together. Yeah, but I've been involved in music in various bands. Not that for a while. I'm involved in small press, comics, for about the same length of time. But
you kind of sorry to jump in. Do you ever mix the two? Do you ever put the two together? Like, do you ever kind of sell comics and stuff at your gigs?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I do that all the time. Well, yeah, a lot of times, especially like some of the recent Plimpton's gigs, been doing that, and and a lot of it's all sort of crosses over because a lot of the I used to do things like a bit naff, draw comic versions of songs, and then I realised that's a bit pointless. What I should be doing is animations of the actual songs. So I'd like to do more animations for songs that don't have videos, like a version of that David Travis show from the 80s, where they'd have all these 60s songs and they'd make a new video for them, made in the 80s, but I want to make sort of really basic animation, Roger Ramjet style cartoon videos for forgotten songs that need videos. Like, I don't know, that's another long-term project that hasn't really come much. But,
one of the videos that you've made, the Jolly Top Hat video.
Well, I didn't make that actually. That was a road manager. You'll notice that's better than the other videos I've made because it was actually done by a road manager, Chris Gilmore. But that was
Mac-Hill Kid.
Yeah. He spent a lot of time on that, and it turned out really well. Yeah.
In that video and the song itself, you accidentally preempted an episode of Doctor Who by several years. The Christmas special that involved a gigantic Cyberman robot over Victorian London. It was pretty much exactly the same plot as Jolly Top Hat.
Yeah, except
maybe they heard it and maybe they nicked it, man.
Well, if you saw the video, it was almost shot for shot, some parts.
But ours was better.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't be hard, because that just went downhill when that huge Cyber King appeared, and I didn't like that episode.
It wasn't because Jolly Top Hat.
No, it wasn't.
So what's appealed to you guys then about doing things yourselves? I mean, obviously the kind of small press scene is very much involved with DIY and kind of stands outside of the mainstream. I'll start with you, Jimmy. What was it that drew you to that kind of thing?
Well, I didn't have anywhere else to go, man. I mean, I've always drawn. Do you know what I mean? And I've always been into drawing and comics and stuff, but I never really had the gumption to kind of be sending stuff out to editors and doing this and that. Do you know what I mean? So it was obvious. It kind of was obvious for me to put my work there. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't have to do any of that. I didn't have to I didn't. It was just me doing something and then putting it out. If I didn't want to put anything out a certain week, then I wouldn't. But I didn't have to kind of get acceptance from someone else. And also it's a really encouraging thing because all the people that are involved in it, it's not like everyone's trying to make their money, do you know what I mean? Or everyone's trying to make it for themselves, everyone's encouraging each other. So it's a nice community to be a part of, do you know what I mean? You make your own music and stuff like that, don't you? You put your own music out.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think even though we're all coming from maybe kind of creating different end results, I think there's possibly a kind of common theme here of the idea of doing it for yourself, and doing it yourself is far more important than making it in inverted commas. And it's nice to make something and then have the immediate kind of return from people, the immediate reaction to it, rather than having to make something and wait 6 months for it to come out, and then by that point you've made 3 or 4 other things. So
and you've got people who are kind of like you say, you've got people who are giving you their work and saying oh, tell me what you think of my work, and that's really cool. Do you know what I mean? Because you're doing swaps and stuff like that. So there's a kind of mutual appreciation, which you don't get if you just got your stuff on a shelf somewhere and somebody just buys it. I mean, obviously, it's nice to be getting your stuff out, or whatever, but it's nice to see the people and talk to them and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam, what's your take on it?
On doing stuff yourself? Well, it's kind of like, you know, if you're not going to do it, no one says really, you know. A lot of situations, you know, no one's clamouring. You just got to get stuff out there yourself. In terms of, I guess you could talk about music as well. You know, it's. I mean, it was starting music. It was coming from trying to be, I don't know, trying to see other people doing it and thinking you could do that, being inspired by that, not in a sort of positive way. Not because I used to go to me and Martin and well, people from Motherwell, but we used to go to regularly a place in Motherwell called Starker. It was called, even before that, was called Bar One, and we'd kind of, I'd speaking to myself, I'd get kind of frustrated seeing all the bands play, but not because I thought they were that good, but just thought I thought I could be as good. I proved them wrong. We were worse, but but it was, I don't know. I just thought you had as much to give, and why not? Got inspired in that way because you didn't think the level. Well, you felt you had something to put back in, you know, in that way, you know. And when a few folk are encouraging you, then you keep going at it, you know. So, you know, but
it also kind of ties into something that we were talking about on the show last week when I had Gary Marshall and Yuri Landman on. We were talking about kind of the way that MP3s and downloading has completely changed the music industry.
Yeah.
And the thing is, bands are now having to kind of come round to the way we've been kind of working for years.
Yeah.
You know, and doing it for yourself and doing it kind of completely under your own steam has been pretty much the norm for us and lots of other people for a long, long time. But it's starting to become a necessity for other people now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, so we're kind of a bit ahead of the curve there, I like to think.
I don't. Yeah, I guess in the past it was always like you always had bands coming up and it was like, oh, we're going to get signed or something, you know. But like, no one in their right mind would want that to happen to them now. Probably, you know, that's like I'd be like saying I want to go to prison. I don't know. You know.
Totally. I mean, have you seen? I saw a film recently called "Anyone Can Play Guitar" about the bands of Oxford. Has anyone seen that?
I haven't. No.
No, I haven't seen it. It's about Radiohead and stuff like that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was about all those bands coming out of Oxford, and a lot of it was like that. It was like, you know, these guys started off doing it themselves and stuff, and then when record companies got involved, basically everyone just got fucked over, and like, do you know what I mean? It was just like, oh shit, like, you know, that's the reality of it. Like, someone's controlling your art. Do you know what I mean? What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
But it was kind of almost seen... Sorry. Were you saying something? Well, I was just sort of saying, back in the day it was seen as a kind of almost sort of fraternal rite of passage that they'd have to go through to get signed, and then they'd go through all the sort of rock and roll cliches and stuff like that. You know, that was part of it. That was part of the dream, the movie of their lives, you know, kind of thing. But I think most people probably, you know, are aware that that's not even a dream anymore. That's outmoded, you know.
Yeah.
It's. I think it's as we were talking about last week. I mean, I think it's one of these things that young bands nowadays have it. I don't know whether I envy them or not. They've got the means to get their music out to so many more people for so much less money than we did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying we did but that's ridiculous because we're still all making music. So you know, we've still
but when you started off,
yeah. But I mean, you know, there's no sort of drive really to. I don't know. There's maybe the whole idea of, you know, get yourself a 7-inch put out and then tour lots and lots and then get a deal is something that's no longer the case. And you know, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's good for bands in some ways, and it's good for artists and you know, people who are making comics and, you know, pretty much anybody who's making things on a small scale. It's good because the means of getting those things out to other people has never been easier. But then it maybe has the downside that suddenly the market's flooded with things. You know, I mean, have either of you found that certainly with the self-publishing side of things that there's a lot more than there used to be? Go on, I'll ask you, Jimmy.
There's more stuff. Well, I mean, like I said, I've only been doing this stuff since, like, I only got involved. I mean, I started doing my own books in 2008, so I don't really know what the scene was like before. But I mean, like, printing stuff like that is really easy to do now. You know, I mean, you've got like print on demand. People are doing like books that look as slick as the American Marvel stuff. Do you know what I mean? And like, you can do it. You know, you can just upload your thing online, and like, then whenever somebody orders a copy, they just print one and send it off. Like, you know, so it's amazing, like the stuff that people are doing. I mean, what I'd say, so I'm not sure about like, is there more stuff? But there's a diversity of stuff that's pretty amazing, you know, because, you know, you have got people doing, like, one-off things, you know what I mean, really small editions, you know, like 10 copies or something, that they're, like, screen printing, or they're cutting all the pages, or, like, you know, I got some stuff in the post the other week, and just every page, you could, as soon as I opened the envelope, I could just smell Pritt stick, do you know what I mean? And, like, every page was, like, you know, cut by hand, folded, with stuff popping out, you know, so so there's definitely an amazing diversity of stuff. I don't know if that's been, you know, helped by the technology or whatever. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm maybe kind of... Am I going away from the question here?
No, not at all. No. There's no such thing as going away from the question on this podcast.
Yeah. 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 There's an amazing diversity of stuff out there for sure. I mean, like, and if anyone out there who's listening is interested, like, just Google, like, just look up zines or whatever, and you can get into that world because it's an amazing thing to be involved in. But and yeah, any DIY stuff, you know.
I mean, do the two of you find that having access to the web and things like that has made it easier to make connections?
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's certainly, from my point of view, from, you know, booking shows and finding kind of like-minded musicians and artists, it's certainly a lot easier than the days of getting the Melody Maker gig guide with the phone numbers of the venues in it and ringing distant pubs in the hope that somebody would put you on. It is much better than it once was. So do you think that has a same applies kind of in the small press kind of arena?
Yeah, it's definitely it definitely helps to promote what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's an event or, like, you know, I think it maybe makes people do more stuff. I mean, in the past, I guess there were, like, I mean, even since 2008, there were, like, you know, people doing stuff like launching their new magazine or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But, like, it seems to me like in the last few years, because of, like, you know, having an event up on, you know, Facebook or whatever, you know, more and more people are just, like, you know, finding a venue to do a launch night for their thing, because it's so much easier to get people along to it. Just like you were saying before, you were like, I don't know, mailing out or whatever, and now you just put up an event. It takes, like, I don't know, 10 minutes to post an event up on Facebook or whatever, and then you can invite all your friends. And so it definitely helps. I mean, we use it all the time for that kind of stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's certainly. It's made life easier. I mean, it's completely changed the way I think people do things. I mean, certainly the reason I know both of you guys is because of the internet. And if it weren't for the internet, I just wouldn't know you, and I wouldn't know most of the people I know, kind of globally, that do various things.
Yeah,
and would miss out on so much. And, you know, it's like I was saying last week on the show, that years ago I used to play in a band in Birmingham, and we didn't know what was going on 15 minutes down the road in Coventry. We didn't know which bands were playing there. We didn't know who there was playing in Coventry. And now, you know, especially in the Scottish music scene, I mean, I don't know what, because I moved to Scotland around the time the internet kind of started to kind of take hold. So I don't really know what a pre-internet Scottish music scene was like. So, I mean, Adam, do you recall at all?
Oh, not really, no, at all. Because you moved at the same time, I'd be sort of... the only thing I recall was, like, being in Motherwell when, you know, when it was like that pub was like the centre of the world, you know, and you get people walking in like rock stars, you know, like it was the Groucho Club or something. But it was like... But that's sort of also... It's not just not being the internet kind of thing. But I guess... I don't know... Yeah, the internet's always all a very good thing for this stuff, but this... I don't know, it's almost like you get lost in a massive sea of infinite possibilities that you can never focus on one thing. Sometimes I feel a little bit, you know.
I suppose, yeah, I mean, I suppose there is
that. Can be a bit overwhelming, like.
Yeah. I'd rather have it this way than that way, but I think we do lose a little bit of something, you know.
Do you think we're kind of finding our attention spread a little bit too
totally, thin? Yeah. Oh, totally. Well, you just go online, you've got so many things competing for your attention, you know. And
that's a drag, yeah. When you're online, when you're trying to do something, and then you've got, like, you know, you start off with your intention is to kind of, I don't know, set something up, do your blog or whatever, and then, like, you've got 15 tabs open with, like, all kinds of different stuff, and it's like shit, and then you kind of forget what you were doing in the first place, and it's you know.
Yeah.
But
I think the worst thing for that I find is looking up one thing on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Because as you go through the article, you're right-clicking and opening new tab through various links.
Yeah.
And then 4 hours later, you're reading about scuba diving off the south coast of Ireland. And
it's like an endless choose-your-own-adventure or something, isn't it?
And you find yourself thinking, how did I even get to this? And why am I reading about the particular type of moulding of flippers? It's one of the worst for that is if, and Adam will relate to this completely, if you ever decide to look up something about old style Doctor Who on Wikipedia, that's it. Your evening's gone. You're going to be reading about various kind of audio versions of things and kind of non-canon novels and all these kind of spin-offs and stuff, and you end up kind of going, I didn't know the Doctor was part of what made the time. Ooh, and it goes on forever. Or it seems to go on forever. I wonder if it would be possible to read all the pages on Wikipedia.
Well, probably not. Because...
Well, how many pages are there?
I don't know. It doesn't fill that much space. Apparently, well, I mean, you used to be able to fit the whole thing into the space of about 2 gigabytes. But I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of text, though. I mean, that's...
Yeah, just text. Yeah, shit.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're coming up on the half-hour mark. So what I'm going to do is because we're making the show a little bit snappier and to the point, I'm going to start drawing things to a close then. So before I do so, though, I want to get a little bit more information from you guys, just where people can go to find out about what you're doing. So, Jimmy, tell us a bit about where people can go online to find out what's going on with you.
Yeah, please go along to alternativepress.org.uk and have a look. Actually, starting on Saturday, we've got an exhibition at Orbital Comics in London where we're showing the work comics artist who is living in London, but he's got his work published in France, and he actually works for the Private Eye magazine as well. And we're doing a 2-week exhibition of his work. And then on the 4th and 5th of August, we've got the International Alternative Press Festival, which is a 2-day fair at the Conway Hall. So you can find out all about that at the at alternativepress.org.uk. At the Conway Hall, we've got like a massive room with 50 tables of people selling their books. We've got like 2 or 3 artists on a table on each table. We've got a separate room for workshops. We're doing like book binding workshops. We've got a separate room for poetry and stuff. We're going to be doing like storytelling and spoken word. So it's going to be a wicked couple of days. So yeah, take a look, or if you want to say hello on like Facebook or whatever, I'm just Jimi Gherkin on there, and like there's a group and stuff like that as well. So that's how to get in touch with me.
Adam, same for yourself.
Yeah, well, there's the Plimpton's website is www.theplimptons.co.uk. There's also a Bandcamp, theplimptons.bandcamp.com. I've got a big cartel we'll sell some comics to do with Gillian, my girlfriend, who does Team Girl, which is a lot. I'm just trying to find the website for that and have a look at it. It's 2 seconds. You can cut all this out. Please do.
It all stays in. All stays.
Use this as your intro.
Yeah.
No, we just had a new comic out called Taxidermy Tales. Yeah, it's called adamandjill.bigcartel.com. Yeah, and also the Team Girl, which is nothing directly to do, but that's teamgirlcomic.co.uk. So,
fantastic. So that's where you need to go, listeners. Go and check these things out. As I say every week, go and have a look and see what's going on. It's all good stuff. All I have to say then is thank you ever so much for both of you for appearing tonight. Unfortunately, it seems that I think Mark was otherwise engaged doing something else, and looks like maybe time's run away with him. We'll bring him on another week, and Adam and he can discuss writing songs that aren't really po-faced together at that point. It's been a pleasure having both of you on. Thank you very much for your time. All that's left to say then is goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay. All right.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Thank you.